Josiah. I'd like to start by reading my high school bio from the 2008 season preview. Josiah, High School, a 3-year varsity starter on offense and defense, 2-time first-team all-conference selection, a first-team all-state offensive line selection as a senior, named the league lineman of the year as a senior team captain. If you know anything about me, you would know that this is something of an exaggeration. I think that a mistake was made somewhere, or maybe someone saw that I left that section blank and decided to fill it with something a little more creative. My path to Wheaton football is very different from the norm, and the things that Wheaton football has taught me have been very different as well. Most guys will tell you that Wheaton football takes cocky high school jocks and turns them into humble men of God. While I am certainly still striving for that end result, I began from a very different starting point, certainly not better, but different. For starters, I grew up in West Africa, speaking French long before I ever learned English, and by the time I made it to Wheaton, I had lived in more than 6 countries and had changed schools 12 times. Through most of my growing up years, I also had a slight defect in my foot that was eventually fixed just before high school. This made it hard to participate in athletics. Up until high school, and due to my lack of experience and my very transitive lifestyle, I really had very little opportunity to be a part of many varsity sports, especially football. Football, however, was the one sport I wanted to play more than any other. After having lived in Pittsburgh for a few short periods of time as a kid, I'd become a diehard Steelers fan. And the idea of playing on the gridiron was a long-held dream. But I never did get a chance until 4 years ago. Growing up, I always knew I wanted to go to Wheaton. I wanted to go to a Christian college with a high academic standard, and I'd always heard Wheaton was the best. So I decided that was where I was going to go. I had no idea that Wheaton had a football team, and the idea of playing in college had never really crossed my mind until I got here in the summer of '07. Once here, I realized that Wheaton had a team, and I decided to go talk to the head coach of my father and see if there was any possibility for me to play. Thinking back, it seems like a pretty ridiculous and very ignorant idea, but I suppose I really had nothing to lose. Thankfully, I didn't look up Wheaton's past season records and realize that there were 2 future NFL players on the team. When I went in to talk to Coach Wheaton, I'll never forget how stupid I felt as he asked me with a bewildered look about my past experience. I don't know why, but Coach gave me a workout to follow and told me that I could film for the team with a kid named Daniel Shear, and that my situation would be reevaluated in the spring. As the season wore on, and as I realized how good Wheaton really was, I quickly came to the conclusion that the coaches had been in need of one more person to film, when by some miracle, some idiot walked into the offices, obviously ready to believe anything. I think the main reason that I wanted to be on the football team was that I was seeking validation and identity in the midst of a very unstable and transitive life. I wanted to be a part of something because I didn't feel that I belonged anywhere, and I thought being a football player would be accompanied with status, security, and the chance to compete at a high level. I think I felt that if only I could be a football player, things would be better. My identity was not rooted in Christ. I was far from the point where I could say, Lord, I stand complete in your love, and your grace is enough. At the end of the 2007 season, Coach Swider called Shear and I into the glass room upstairs in the SRC during one of our lifts and informed us that we were being given spots on the team. I don't think I've had a more exciting moment, maybe ever. When Coach asked me if I wanted a spot on the team, it was all I could do to answer, yes sir. He assigned me to the D-line, and the next day I went and saw Coach Peltz to talk about what lay ahead. Coach Peltz was not overly optimistic about the significant learning curve that lay ahead. For obvious reasons, and near the end of our talk, he looked at me and said these words: listen, whatever happens in here, in terms of playing football, isn't the most important thing. We figure that if by the time you're done here, if you haven't grown closer to Jesus, then we failed at what we're really trying to do. I think it was at that point that I realized something was different about this program. The next 3 years were rough. I'll never forget my first time putting on pads and a helmet and looking at Coach with a blank expression when asked to get in 3-point stance. I think I was more of a hindrance than a help in my first year, and I thank the coaches for their patience and their blind faith that somehow I'd get better. In that first year, I think it really hit me that being on the team didn't make me any more special, any more valuable, or any more accomplished. And I think it was then that I finally began to realize that nothing but Christ and His love was ever going to fill my insecurity. From the beginning, I knew that things would be rough, but these last 3 years have in many ways been harder than I ever expected. It's been incredibly frustrating trying to compete as I try to understand things that to others seem basic. I came into training camp every year, giving it everything I had, and each time ending up on the scout team. I don't think I ended up loving football as much as I thought I would, and I don't think I ever understood the toll that football would take on my body. What's funny is the things I found in Wheaton football that I value, that have shaped me, and that I will keep with me always, have very little to do with football. The important thing that football has taught me are discipline, perseverance, and toughness. Outside of football, being on this team, I've established friendships that I will keep with me always, and had the opportunity to interact with many men that are actively pursuing God as they genuinely attempt to humbly live out the gospel of Christ through love. I've come closer to holding on completely to Christ as I try and allow His overwhelming grace and love to shape me into the man He would have me become. These chapels are often the highlight of my week, as we all come together for worship, to hear from seniors how God is continually working through this program, and to hear from men outside of the program, men of God outside of the program. And so in closing, I joined Wheaton football for all the wrong reasons, and came out transformed for all the right ones. Now a few thank yous. Thank you to my class. You guys are an amazing group of men, and some of my yearly highlights have always been our class trips. Thank you to the coaches for the sacrifices you make for the program, and what you've invested in a program that is continually changing lives. Special thanks to Coach Swider and Coach Peltz. Thank you, Coach Swider, for allowing me to play. And thank you, Coach Peltz, for your patience and your wonderful example. One thing that I think I've appreciated most about both of you is that I know you could be doing a lot of other things, but you really love what you do and wouldn't want to be doing anything but coaching us and doing it here at Wheaton. And that's rare. It means more than I can tell you. Finally, thanks to my family. Mom, Michelle, and Nadia, I know you're not here, but I love you more than I get to tell you. Sorry. Dad, having you here is really a blessing. I look up to you more than anyone. And I hope to one day have a faith and a heart like yours. Regarding Milliken, it don't matter. Our effort, our hard work, and our perseverance are what matters. This team's heart's going to keep beating until we lose. And we won't be losing anytime soon.